This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News. First, the highlights. Bayelsa State Government signed MOU on infrastructure and agric. Tinubu seeks Senate approval for newly appointed service chiefs. State assemblies and others support bill for NASS Security Directorate. FG approves made in Nigeria goods for ECOWAS market. Trump criticizes Putin nuclear missile tests. Democol urges Osimhen to surpass Barrow's goal record. Bayelsa State Government has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Chinese construction giant, China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, in Beijing, covering infrastructure, agricultural and aquaculture projects, as well as mass housing for civil servants and low-income earners in the state. The MOU was signed by Governor Doye Diri on behalf of the state, while the president of CCECC, Mr. Shen Xishang, signed for the firm. The governor's spokesman, Mr. Daniel Alabra, said that the deal followed an illegal firearms fabrication factory in Itam, Itu local government area of the state, and the operatives arrested 2 suspects involved in the fabrication of local guns allegedly supplied to robbers and cultists. The command spokesperson, DSP Timfon John, who disclosed this in a statement in Uyo on Tuesday, identified their clients to court upon the conclusion of the investigation. Meanwhile, the commissioner, CP Baba Mohammed Azari, has commended the operatives for their swift and effective action and further urged members of the public to continue to provide timely and credible information on suspicious activities within their communities, and assuring that all information will be treated with the utmost confidentiality. Cross River State Governor Basi Otu has presented a total budget outlay of 780.59 billion naira for the 2026 fiscal year of the State House of Assembly. Otu described it as a budget of inclusive growth designed to consolidate on the gains of his administration's People First philosophy, and while presenting the appropriation bill before lawmakers on Tuesday in Calabar, Governor Otu said the annual budget presentation transcends bureaucratic ritual, stressing that sacred social contract between government and the governed was a public declaration of collective intent to enhance the well-being of the people. Unveiling his 2026 fiscal vision, Otu said the new budget was the outcome of wide-ranging consultations with civil society, private sector players, NGOs, and the general public, adding that his administration would henceforth measure development through the Human Development Index rather than GDP. Reflecting on the 2020 from 538 billion naira to 642 billion naira following improved revenue inflows and prudent management of resources, adding that his administration cannot spend an extra kobo without the legal instrument of appropriation, as well as underscoring his administration's commitment to transparency and ethical governance. He also said the supplementary budget became necessary due to urgent road repairs, rural electrification, and counterpart funding for national. Sir Nuhu Ribadu has warned that any act of violence during the Anambra State governorship election will draw a strong, uncompromising response from security agencies. Ribadu issued the warning on Tuesday at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security with officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, adding that the federal government has put in place comprehensive security measures to guarantee a peaceful, free and credible poll on November 8. He said politicians and candidates must help preserve peace, stressing that security agencies would not tolerate acts complete and urged security agencies to sustain their support and warned against vote buying. The Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security with officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission meeting brought together representatives of the military, police, paramilitary agencies and other stakeholders as part of efforts to ensure a violence-free and transparent election in Anambra State. Nigeria Police Force has revealed plans to deploy 45,000 officers across Anambra State in preparation for the governorship election slated for November 8, 2025, as security agencies step up measures to ensure a peaceful poll. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun, who disclosed this during a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security held on Tuesday at the Independent National Electoral Commission's headquarters in Abuja. The meeting, chaired by INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amupita, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and co-chaired by National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, brought together senior security intelligence and law enforcement officials to finalize strategies for an incident-free election. Ribadu was represented at the meeting by the Director of Internal Security in the Office of the NSA, Hassan Abdullahi, and representative states. In his remarks, Abdullahi stressed the government's commitment to elections scheduled for 8 November 2025 through robust security measures, including enhanced surveillance by disruptive elements or desperate politicians from undermining the electoral process. The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Olakunle Nafiu, assured all of the protection of corps members supporting the election. Affirmed its commitment to environmental sustainability with the official launch of its End Plastic Pollution campaign, adding that it is a community-driven initiative promoting SDGs. Dr. Oreoluwa Fini, who was represented by the Technical Special Assistant Michael Folorenshaw has commended the initiative as timely and commendable, adding that the initiative aligns with SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, and supports Lagos State's vision for a cleaner, more resilient environment. It also said Credit PRO donated plastic collection bins to selected communities, including Chief Anthony Enahoro Housing Estate and George for Justice, Mr. Lawal Pedro, SAN, has dismissed claims that the state government willfully disobeyed its subsisting court order by continuing the demolition of houses in Aworon Shoki. Speaking with journalists on Tuesday, Pedro insisted that no agency of the state government had served any corporation did not violate any restraining order obtained by residents. This is coming after fresh demolition struck the Koka and Ojulari areas of Aworon Shoki in Lagos State at midnight on Saturday, hours after the state government declared that it had compensated about 80 property owners on Friday, and through the Lagos State Urban Renewal Agency, it was planning more compensation. Before bulldozers moved into the area around midnight to carry out the demolition, which lasted until daybreak, with security officials providing backup. The transform the stadium environment into a world-class sports hub with facilities such as a 5-star hotel, cinema and shopping complex, and also commended the Super Falcons for winning their 10th WAFCON title in Morocco, describing the team as a symbol of leadership, teamwork and discipline. He assured the team of Ogun State's continued support and expressed confidence that they would keep inspiring the next generation of Nigerian athletes. The Super Falcons will face the Benin Amazons on Tuesday at the MKO Abiola Stadium of Abeokuta in the return leg of the WAFCON final qualifying round. And Nigeria holds a 2-0 aggregate advantage from the first leg played in Cotonou last Friday, with goals from Chiwendu. He seeks to seal qualification for the 14th WAFCON, scheduled to hold in Morocco from March 17 to April 3, 2026. Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has appealed to political parties in the Osun states to ensure peaceful and transparent primaries ahead of the 2026 governorship election. INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner Dr. Mutiu Agboke, who made the call during a stakeholders meeting on the upcoming party primaries at the Commission's state office on Tuesday in Osogbo, said the meeting was part of the Commission's continuous engagement with stakeholders to ensure that all activities in the election timetable were well understood and strictly followed. The Osun INEC boss said according to the timetable, political parties were expected to conduct their primaries between November 24 and December 15, 2025, in line with Section 84 of the Electoral Act 2022, and urged political parties to prioritize internal democracy and minimize friction during the primaries to prevent pre-election disputes. He also said political leaders must strictly adhere to INEC's regulations and the election timetable, while quoting Section 94, Paragraph 1 of the Electoral Act, stressing that campaign activities should begin 150 days before polling day and end 24 hours before the election, and further advised parties to consult INEC's website for detailed guidelines on political rallies, processions and campaigns. Dr. Agboke also commended INEC staff in the state for their professionalism and dedication during the ongoing registration exercise, and also expressed optimism that all stakeholders would adhere to the rules and conduct rancor-free primaries. Ondo State government has approved the construction and rehabilitation of 101 kilometers of roads as part of efforts to bridge infrastructure gaps. The Commissioner for Infrastructure, Lands and Housing, Engineer Ayorinde Olawoye, who disclosed this while briefing journalists on Tuesday in Akure on the outcome of the State Executive Council meeting, said the projects would cover the construction and rehabilitation of old roads across the state in key locations, including the approved 66.4 kilometers of new roads and 34.6 kilometers of rehabilitation and reconstruction works, bringing the total to 101 kilometers. Olawoye said the projects were approved to ease vehicular movement, enhance commerce, and open up communities for development, and also approved the construction of a 216-bed hostel at the National Youth Service Corps Permanent Orientation Camp in Ikare, Akoko, to improve accommodation for corps members deployed to the state. Federal Capital Territory Administration Executive Council has approved 22 memoranda, including 14 new contracts and 8 ratifications, all of which were unanimously adopted, cutting across health, road infrastructure, water supply, education, agriculture, and youth development. FCT EXCO said the approvals highlight a governance structure that is working effectively for residents, adding that implementation will begin immediately as all contracts take effect without delay. Acting Executive Secretary FCDA, Engineer Richard Dauda, confirmed the emergency approval for a new access road. According to the ESCO, Youth Department Center of Nyanya would be rehabilitated to help create jobs for FCT youth residents, while server extension of Jabi Pump Station was also approved. Political actors to guarantee credible elections across the state. The event convened by the Commissioner of Police, Niger State Command, Party Advisory Council, Niger State Chapter, Issa Makujeri, as well as the Special Advisor to the Governor on Political Affairs, Makolo. Representatives of security agencies, area commanders, and divisional police officers, Eleman, said the meeting was convened to foster maturity, responsibility, and collective commitment to peace by all stakeholders, adding that the command, in partnership with NSIEC and other security agencies, had made comprehensive arrangements to provide a secured and peaceful environment for the election. He also urged youth and political supporters to be ambassadors of peace by refraining from being used as tools for electoral violence or disruption. Niger State government has partnered with local and international investors to enhance dairy and sugar production as part of its ongoing agricultural transformation drive. A statement released by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Niger State, Bologi Ibrahim, Governor Umaru Bago, who led a delegation of development partners and investors to inspect one of the Niger food farms, adding that the state was leveraging collaborations to boost its livestock and dairy industry. He said his administration is leveraging on development partners to boost its livestock industry, especially in dairy production, adding that the initiative aligns with global best practices and fits into his administration's broader vision to transform the agricultural sector for the overall prosperity of all Nigerians. Bago said the farm inspection was aimed at assessing progress, identifying opportunities, and strengthening national policy on foods. He also said plans to improve seed production and reiterated his administration's commitment to using Niger's vast natural resources through year-round production. Niger State Governor Mohammed Bago has declared Thursday and Friday as public holidays ahead of the November 1 local Welcome back. This is the Global News of Atlantic Television and Network. Now to the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu has sent a letter to the Senate requesting the confirmation of the newly appointed service chiefs. The letter was addressed to Senate President Godswill Akpabio and read during the Tuesday's plenary session in Abuja, and they include the confirmation of Chief of Defense Staff General Olufemi Oluyede, Chief of Army Staff Major General Wahidi Shaibu, Chief of Naval Staff Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, as well as Chief of Air Staff Air Vice Marshal Kennedy Aneke, and Chief of Defense Intelligence Major General Emmanuel Odiendeye. In the letter, President Tinubu appealed to the Senate to expedite action on the confirmation of the appointments, and the request has been forwarded to the Committee of the Whole for the screening and confirmation of the nominees next week. President Bola Tinubu dignitaries paid glowing tributes to the late veteran broadcaster and former Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Christopher Kolade, during a service of songs held in his honor. The elder statesman, aged 92, passed away on Wednesday, October 8, 2025. The service of songs, which formed part of the rites of passage for the late diplomat, was held at the Wole Soyinka Center, formerly the National Arts Theatre, and attracted a cross-section of family members, friends, associates, and serving and former public officials. Among those present were President Bola Tinubu, represented by his Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, former Minister of Science and Technology Olorunibe Mamore, as well as former Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Oyama, and former presidential candidate Peter Obi, among others. The dignitaries extolled Kolade's virtues, describing him as a man of integrity, discipline, and uncommon humility. In a tribute delivered on behalf of the president, Gbajabiamila said Kolade lived a life dedicated to God and humanity. Senate has lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and other key institutions for their roles in securing Nigeria's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list, describing the development as a major victory for the nation's financial integrity and global reputation. The motion was sponsored by Senator Emmanuel Udende on the matters of urgent public importance, pursuant to Orders 41 and 51 of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended. Moving the motion, Udende said Nigeria's delisting by FATF reflects the country's remarkable progress in addressing strategic deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism framework, and demonstrates its strong commitment to global financial integrity standards, and credited the development to the successful implementation of extensive reforms and policy measures by the executive arm of government, the National Assembly, and several regulatory and enforcement agencies. In its resolution, the Senate recognized the invaluable leadership and contributions of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Senate, the NFIU, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and other relevant stakeholders whose coordinated actions culminated in this significant national achievement. Lawmakers expressed delight that the delisting has boosted investor confidence and reassured the international community of Nigeria's renewed commitments to transparency, accountability, and global financial standards, and also highlighted the long-term benefits of Nigeria's delisting, including transformative impacts on the economy through sustained foreign direct investments across key sectors such as energy, technology, agriculture, and manufacturing, as well as a stronger naira, Naira greater regulatory stability and job creation. Adopting the motion, the Senate resolved to commend the President and urge relevant financial and enforcement agencies to consolidate the gains by maintaining continuous compliance with international standards to prevent relapse, and also mandated the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes to sustain legislative oversight and policy reviews to further strengthen Nigeria's financial governance. Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has upheld the defamation charges filed against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan following her conduct and actions against Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, stressing that it contravenes the penal code. The AGF said the decision is in response to Akpoti-Uduaghan's preliminary objection to 3 counts bordering on harmful imputation and defamation filed against her, adding that the charges stemmed from complaints by Akpabio and Bello, referencing the senator's allegation of an assassination attempt before Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was arraigned on June 19 at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Maitama, Abuja, where she pleaded not guilty. On Monday, Justice Chizoba Oji adjourned till December 1 to hear the preliminary objection after the prosecuting counsel David Kaswe informed the court that although the matter was scheduled for the hearing of the objection and the prosecution had been unable to serve its response to the defense. In a counter affidavit filed by the AGF's office, the prosecution urged the court to reject Akpoti-Uduaghan's preliminary objection, adding that Akpoti-Uduaghan was accused of making harmful imputations that she allegedly knew would damage the reputation of Akpabio by claiming that he conspired with former Governor Bello to kill her. She was further accused of making similar imputations against Bello and another against Akpabio, allegedly linking him to the death of Ms. Inyobong Omorin. And at the last sitting on September 23rd, defense counsel Ehi Gioge West Idahosa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, informed the court that the defendant had filed a notice of preliminary objection, arguing that the Office of the Attorney General had abused its prosecutorial powers. After listening to both parties, Justice Oji adjourned the hearing of the preliminary objection to December 1. House of Representatives has planned to investigate the alleged misappropriation of FIFA and CAF development funds by the Nigerian Football Federation, NFF. The House, in a resolution after a motion by Honorable Adeshola Adedayo, Lagos State, directed its Committee on Sports to investigate the activities and financial records of the NFF from 2015 to date. The committee is also mandated to summon both past and present leadership of the Federation to present details of funds received and disbursed within the period under review.
With another African Cup of Nations around the corner and the World Cup playoffs waiting in the wings involving our national team, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, there is a need to take decisive action to stop further misuse of public funds by the leadership of NFF.
The Green Chamber also adopted a motion on the need to connect Ode Isekiri town in Warri South local government area of Delta State to the national electricity grid, following a motion by a Delta State lawmaker, Honorable Thomas Ereyitomi.
Also concerned that Ode Isekiri is not connected to the national electricity grid and have been any electricity supply, a situation that has hampered economic activities and by extension, the general development of the area. Aware that due to the absence of electricity supply from the national grid, the people feel neglected and marginalized despite being a significant oil-producing area.
The House passed for second reading a bill for an act to amend the Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Act and for related matters, and also considered and passed for second reading a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian FinTech Regulatory Commission.
The Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Bill 2025 is a forward-looking reform aimed at consolidating Nigeria anti-corruption architecture. It will make asset recovery more efficient, enhance transparency and accountability, and build public confidence in the judicial system. By supporting this bill, Mr. Speaker, we will be strengthening the institutional and legal capacity of our nation to trace recovery and manage proceeds of crime both within and outside the borders of Nigeria.
The objective of this bill, Nigerian FinTech Regulatory Commission Bill, is to aim to provide clear regulatory framework for a fintech industry, ensure that operators comply with the established standards and guidelines, protect consumers by ensuring that fintech companies operate fairly, transparently, securely, and promote innovation in fintech sector will minimize risk to financial stability.
The plenary was thereafter adjourned till Wednesday, 29th October 2025. Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Internal Security, Garba Mohammed, the National Assembly has received threats from terrorists to bomb the complex and called for urgent fortification of the edifice as a proactive measure. Garba disclosed this in Abuja at a public hearing on a bill seeking to establish the Legislative Security Directorate, which seeks to enhance security management, protect the lawmakers, staff members, and visitors to the nation's parliament. The edifice housing the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the sundry offices, he said, has been facing security challenges, including cases of car and motorcycle theft, vandalism, fake identity cards, and infiltration by unregistered visitors, adding that a similar incident on May 4, 2021, when a security alert warned lawmakers of a planned Boko Haram attack on the National Assembly complex and other VIP government locations in Abuja, and in response, security measures were intensified, including street vehicle checks that caused significant congestion at the gates. Lawmakers were advised to use the less congested presidential gate for safer access, stressing that the alert underscored concerns over Boko Haram's growing threat, with insurgents reportedly operating as close as Niger State, near the Federal Capital Territory. Following the alert, the National Assembly limited members' presence on the premises for safety, and security experts called for stronger federal protection of national infrastructure and assets. State houses of assembly and other stakeholders have declared support for the proposed bill to establish a Legislative Security Directorate in the National Assembly. The positions were presented on Tuesday during a public hearing organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Internal Security, declaring the hearing on the bill, titled the Bill for an Act to Provide for the Establishment and Functions of the Legislative Security Directorate in National Assembly, to provide for the qualification and conditions of service of the sergeant at arms and other personnel of the Directorate, and for related matters. 2024 HB 1632, Speaker of the House of Reps, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, represented by the House Chief Whip, Honorable Usman Kanu, stressing the importance of the bill in deepening the country's democracy. In his opening remarks, Chairman of the committee, Honorable Garba Ibrahim Mohammed, underscored the importance of robust security in all arms of government, particularly in the legislature, which receives heavy daily foot traffic from lawmakers, staff, executive officials, judiciary members, civil society groups, and protesters, adding that the bill seeks to adopt global best practices in parliamentary security management and create a comprehensive framework to safeguard legislative operations.
At this very important point in time, we really need this piece of legislation to help and enforce, fortify, and improve our national democracy. My job is very simple. Is to implore all our invited guests that please kindly avail this very important committee with necessary input, necessary informations, documents, and views that will help us have a piece of legislation that is at par and in tandem with the global best practice.
But with the ongoing security challenges, if proper measures are not taken, legislative activities will be truncated and truncated in the National Assembly. And if activities are thwarted, there will be no representation, no oversight, no annual budget. There will be no plenary at all. And all this will destabilize legislative procedure, democracy, and the stability of the system and the nation at large. Effective security management needs a total approach that requires various elements to be integrated together in order to secure our environment for legislative procedure to function effectively and maximally.
Representative of the Inspector General of Police, AIG Emmanuel Aina, the police cautioned that creating a separate directorate might lead to overlapping mandates and a parallel administrative function. Responding to concerns raised by some stakeholders over whether the directorate's personnel would be authorized to bear arms, the Sergeants at Arms of the National Assembly clarified that only trained and legally authorized officers would handle arms in collaborating with other security agencies within the National Assembly.
The Sergeant at Arms shall be involved in the recruitment process of all personnel of the Directorate in terms of training, sensitization, and induction, bearing in mind the paramilitary nature of the duties expected of such personnel. In number 5, the head of Sergeant at Arms shall constitute internal disciplinary committee to handle cases of indiscipline and misconduct of officers on grade levels SG 01 to 7. Report of such cases shall be forwarded to the National Assembly Service Commission through the clerk to the National Assembly. Rationale behind this is to align disciplinary procedures as applied in other security agencies to conform with international best practices. Sat 4. No staff of the Directorate shall present himself or herself for the elective position in the National Assembly Staff Union. Rationale. These additions clarify the chain of discipline, ensure professional recruitment practices, and prevent conflicts of interest that may arise from union politics within the paramilitary-oriented directorate. Number 9, possession of firearms and ammunition by the Sergeant at Arms. Sat 4, the Sergeant at Arms Directorate shall maintain an armed squad to respond active shooter situation, engage in proactive operation, and undertake other specialized security assignments as may be required.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Ezenwo Wike, says the Abuja Smart City Vision is being powered by strong investments in urban mobility, sustainability, public safety, digital governance, and economic empowerment. Wike made this known on Tuesday while speaking at the 2025 Asia-Pacific Cities Summit and Mayors Forum held in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, where he joined city leaders and mayors from around the world to share Abuja's transformation journey. A statement shared by his Senior Special Assistant in Public Communications and Social Media, Lero Olayinka, the minister said Abuja's Smart City Drive reflects its commitment to building a world-class capital city anchored on technology, innovation, and people-centered development, adding that under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed Hope agenda, the Smart City Vision focuses on 5 key pillars that connect infrastructure, technology, and governance. On sustainability, the minister said the FCT administration was working towards smart waste management, renewable energy adoption, and waste-to-wealth initiatives that promote a cleaner and greener environment, adding that public safety remains a top priority for his administration, noting that smart solar street lights, CCTV surveillance, and emergency response systems are being deployed to enhance security and protect residents. Wike also stressed the role of digital governance in transforming services delivery across Abuja, adding that efforts are ongoing to attract tech investors and create jobs for young people. Highlighting some of Abuja's ongoing collaborations, Wike mentioned partnerships with international agencies and the private sector, including GCAR's Smart Water Metering Project, Chinese-supported intelligent traffic lights, and other ventures such as the Abuja City Walk and the Abuja Industrial Park. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has restated its commitment to combating human trafficking in the country and warns against the cycles of vulnerability and exploitation affecting women and children, stressing that the fight against trafficking requires collective action beyond enforcement. Director General of NAPTIP, Hajia Binta Bello, who spoke in Abuja during the unveiling of Vicious Red Circles, also highlighted the dangers of trafficking. Bello reaffirmed NAPTIP's resolve to pursue justice for victims and prosecute offenders, while commending the author for using literature to promote awareness.
We are committed to combating human trafficking through prevention of the crime, protection of the victims and the vulnerable groups by providing them with support services, prosecution of the perpetrators, partnership and development of policies, what NAPTIP call the 5 Ps. We must know that this novel does not just inform, it moves us. It urges us to reflect on the cycles of vulnerability and exploitation that trap so many of our citizens, especially women and children. It also reminds us that behind every trafficking case is a person, someone's daughter, someone's son, and someone's future. It should also be seen as a call to action for everybody, both government, corporate bodies, and individuals in the society.
Chairman of the occasion and APC National Chairman urged stakeholders to act decisively to restore integrity and dignity to victims.
That's why this synergy in this your book needs that clear synergy that can boost the economy, that can build distribution of wealth, that can provide social services and ensure that the vulnerable people are included in the economy, building an inclusive economy, that all of us can be part and parcel of it. Look forward to this your book, being a mirror that can set a path for not just the APC, not just the government of the APC at the state level, at national level, but the state government and the local government being part and parcel of this change that can create a clear reflection between the people of Nigeria and the destiny of the young and vulnerable girls, especially.
Author of the book, Ambassador Alex Oriaku, and reviewer Dr. Ike Neliaku described the book as a work exposing the poverty, ignorance, and harsh realities that sustain human trafficking. West African Examinations Council has dismissed reports alleging that it issued a directive restricting senior secondary students to specific subjects for the forthcoming 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates. A statement issued on Tuesday by the acting head of public affairs, Moyosola Adeshina, and signed on behalf of the head of the national office, where he described the reports as unfounded assumptions and urged schools and the general public to disregard them, adding that schools had been directed to limit students' subject combinations for the 2026 examination. The examination body clarified that it does not issue directives concerning the development or modification of senior secondary curricula, as that responsibility lies solely with the federal government through relevant education authorities, and further assured stakeholders that any change to the curriculum would follow due process rather than arbitrariness. The council reaffirmed its commitment to professionalism, excellence, and the equitable assessment of all candidates, assuring that no students would be disadvantaged in the forthcoming examination. Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has written an open letter to President Bola Tinubu, urging his immediate intervention in what it described as the worsening state of the country's health sector, adding that NARD had listed 19 demands which it described as the minimum expectations required to avert a total and indefinite nationwide strike scheduled to commence on October 31. In a letter titled A Passionate Appeal to the Commander-in-Chief of the Federation, signed by the association's president, Muhammad Suleiman, the doctors said the healthcare system was on the verge of collapse, describing the situation as a national emergency and a matter of national security, and the association decided to reach out directly to the president out of deep concern and a profound sense of duty, adding that resident doctors who provide specialist care across Nigerian hospitals have been neglected despite their vital role in healthcare delivery. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Bayelsa State Government signed MOU on infrastructure and agric. Tinubu seeks the Senate approval for newly appointed service chiefs. State assemblies and others support bill for NAS Security Directorate. FG approves made in Nigeria goods for ECOWAS market. Trump criticizes Putin nuclear missile test. The McCall urges Osimhen to surpass Barrow's goals record. Music star Jay Martins escapes death accident. I am Francis Eneka. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms.